is actually a doctor, so something clearly went very wrong to bring him here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Kowal.
That's high. There we go. Need that over here. So, when I'm nervous, I rub my nipples. But it's okay because I'm married, and this is the only physical intimacy I'm allowed. So, I've recognized something about myself not too long ago, that I don't take compliments. I don't understand compliments really well. So, you know, for example, my friend Jeff's like, "Oh, you've got amazing hair. It's like politician hair." You know, the teacher was like, "You've got great stage presence." The woman at McDonald's like, "Do you want to supersize that?" I just feel sexual tension every time. So after the show tonight, if you think I've done a great job, you come up and you're like, "Hey, you were funny." I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, you think I'm sexy." So I am a recovering college professor. I got started at the University of Connecticut, then I moved to a small school in a cornfield in Indiana. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, Purdue. And I used to get into trouble a lot. Like I was called into the dean's office quite a bit. You know, "Oh, Chris, you overshare too much," and "Chris, tenure doesn't mean you can stop wearing pants." But I did do a lot of good for the college campuses that I worked for. I'm the reason there's so many security cameras. One college actually had me travel all over the world, Hong Kong and mainland China, and it was they were like, "Hey, you're the ambassador of our school," because you know I'm of my charming charisma and emotional range. So recently I was diagnosed with celiac disease. That's that gluten thing. You get a little gluten in you and then, you know, they diagnosed it with a colonoscopy. My students did not enjoy the live feed. But seriously, college is a racket. I mean, most college professors, they don't care about you as a student. All they care about is having their name on a paper that 1% of the 1% are gonna read. Like, "Oh, that's a big thing." And they have to actually get really creative with some of the papers they write. Like, one of the most well-respected papers last year was the effects of snail slime on the female menstrual cycle. What the fuck? So I used to get in trouble a lot for swearing when I moved to Indiana. In Connecticut, you could swear all you want. Fuck, you could practice Tourette's all day, it didn't matter. The students were like, "All right, he's our guy." You go to Indiana, and I get called back into the dean's office, and they're like, "You can't flick off your students, even if it's a dumb question." And I pulled out my research paper, I was ready. There's a research article that says if you swear, it shows that you're more credible and trustworthy. And I was like, "Fuck you, Dean." These are really divisive times, so it's hard to be a college professor because, you know, conservatives think you're liberal. Liberal, like my parents, are just confused about me. I do love my parents a lot. I might be the only one. They're very special people. My dad is kind of a know-it-all, and so actually when my mom and dad go to the doctor's office, my mom's like, or the doctor's like, "You can't come in, Paul. You got to stay out. You know, you just, I don't want you around here." And the reason for that is because of the interweb. So he'll be like, "Oh, you know, I think Karen," and you'll be like, "Dad, no, Mom doesn't have rabies." So we grew up, and like most of you probably, there was a lot of abuse in our family, physical and emotional. But the one memory that I have, I think it's the worst memory, is one day my dad came home and he bought a really nice expensive bottle of beer, and he opens it up and he takes a sip and he leaves it on the counter. Alcohol abuse. So I have some beautiful children. I have 3 of them. They're amazing. One of them is trying to be my least favorite. The day after I had a vasectomy, he comes up and gives me this like giant hug, and then I sort of got in slow motion. He gets off of me, and the next thing I see is his black Batman rubber boot raising up, cocking, And he kicks me. I'm on the ground going, why? And he's like, I was just curious. You know, they don't really warn you about how gross childbirth is. I mean, it really is. They say it's a beautiful thing. It's not. It's gross. It smells. It's slimy. Women poop. It's really hard for men. So I married a psychiatrist, and this is actually a lot of fun, right? Because she gets to diagnose me with all the, like, oh, you're a narcissist, you're passive aggressive, you have all the makings of a future Unabomber. Which is actually kind of a cool thing, right? Because sending packages would be really cathartic. Except I'm a pacifist, so my packages would just be strongly worded letters of disappointment. No, the passive-aggressive thing, it actually is kind of fun and you can benefit well from it. My next door neighbor is he's an asshole. He walks around, I'm such an asshole. And so I wait to mow my lawn until the day after he mows his lawn, and then I leave like a 6-inch strip. And so the next day he comes out and mows. He's mowing half my fucking lawn right now. It's awesome. So, unfortunately, my wife just asked me for a divorce. I know, you're like, oh, that's amazing. You know, it's weird because you can go from best friends to like complete strangers, but it was kind of my fault because I did unlock her cage. So, we did go through 6 months of really intensive marriage therapy. And I gotta tell you, marriage therapy, it doesn't work. Matter of fact, 75% of couples report that their marriage is worse off after marriage therapy. It's because they don't do it right? And our marriage therapist was all like psychobabble, like, be bitter or grow, men are wired to be providers, get in touch with your inner child. Chris, don't inappropriately touch your inner child. I think the best part of the divorce, though, is I'm looking forward to sex. I do have to give my wife a lot of credit, because in our house, I do most of the cooking, most of the cleaning, I'm in charge of the kids, I planned our wedding, but she is doing a great job planning this divorce. So with all this free time I have, I've rediscovered porn. There's all kinds of genres, midgets and balloons. My favorite personal genre, though, is low self-esteem and loneliness. All right, thank you guys. I feel sexy.